The Tao pours out everything into life. It is a cornucopia that never runs dry. It is the deep source of everything. It is nothing, and yet in everything. It smooths round sharpness and untangles the knots. It glows like the lamp that draws the moth. Tao exists. Tao is, but where it came from, I do not know. It has been shaping things from before the first beginning, from before the beginning of time. Another interesting verse here that will be a theme moving forward in the remaining verses of dichotomies of things actually being one in the same. And when we look at the Tao is the deep source of everything, the next three words are, it is nothing. And then the next four words are, and yet in everything. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is space, and how open space is also what we describe as nothingness, but we also describe what many people fear happens after death as nothingness, and those two nothingnesses are different. And it's pretty evident that they're different. I don't think it takes a lot of explanation as to why, but it goes back to something that we've spoken about previously on this channel, which is the clumsiness of having to speak and write and think in words. And that there's a sort of fallibility to that that doesn't truly get down to the sheer essence of the thing that you are trying to communicate. And so in that way, we can think of the Tao being nothing as, of course it is nothing, because it is everything, and everything comes out of nothingness. And in that nothingness, something comes to form in space, in open space, not in outer space, in open space. And so it's interesting to think that there is this clear connection between the two nothings, meaning the nothingness of literally if there was no experience after death, if it was just lights out. That nothingness and the nothingness that we look into, say, a bare room, and we say, there's nothing in here. What you're saying is, there's a bunch of open space in here. And what could you then do? You could then put things of form in that room. And the only reason you can do it is because the room has the space. And there will be actually a more dedicated verse to that exact point later. But getting back to this one and how it sort of ties into this is the Tao is everything because it comes from nothing, and that those things arise mutually, which is another phrase that we've mentioned before here. Those things don't come about one in and of itself. It comes about alongside the other at the same time. And as we clumsily use words to try to communicate this, that's about as close as we can get to the trueness of the Tao, which is beyond word and language-based comprehension. Now, talking about the Tao pouring out everything into life and never running dry, there's a very old trope of love being similar to a flame, and that you can light one candle with another candle's flame, and it doesn't take away from the candle that you lit the other one from, right? It doesn't deplete that flame by lighting another one, it just spreads. And love, and the ability to love and love more and love others also has that similar quality. And these are true reflections of the Tao. It never runs dry. It's pouring out life. And we talked about previously the sort of celebration of life that happens when things are so wildly and in such high quantities spread about the earth, and how easily things can grow in many places. It smooths out round sharpness and untangles the knots. It glows like the lamp that draws the moth. Tao exists, but where it came from, I do not know. Again, the mystery persists because in this embodiment that we have in this life, it is forced upon us to think, speak, write in words. And that is a big reason why you cannot know where it came from. There is no where it came from. It is where it came from. But in that mystery is also the clumsiness of having to navigate through language. And also, we'll talk more about this in a separate video, but do you think about feedback? If you point a microphone at a speaker, the speaker that it's connected to, you will get that awful feedback. Or similarly, if you have a camera feed and you point them at each other, you will get a wretched feedback. You coming from the Tao and your life coming from the Tao is another example of feedback. You cannot clearly comprehend or understand that which you are, because there is not even a fuzziness, but there is just an extinguishing quality to that. You think about, again, the microphone and the speaker, that sort of ear bleeding, horrific sound that comes from it, it extinguishes everything else, right? It's not subtle, I guess is what I'm saying. And so, similarly, you not being able to understand the Tao is because you are the Tao. And you cannot fully comprehend beyond symbols what that is, because of the extinguishing nature of the feedback that contemplation creates.